Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Paradigm Paradox, continuing Yukonami's route. The screen's all janky and jiggly, don't look at it, because we are running. We are running because Yukonami took us outside and was going to attack researchers, and then was like, I'm going to attack you instead, so now we're running, let's get through this. Finally, somehow I reached Tau. I just run a rather gruesome marathon, but I couldn't relax. Nope, it's still shaky. It makes you feel like your brain's on... Okay. You're slowing down. I'm gonna get ya. Where's Moravia? Even Hugo would do at this point. But despite my best hope, we didn't come across anyone. Suddenly, I spotted one of the nicer-looking buildings we'd passed by on Yukonami's recent tour. I'll take shelter in there for now. No. Come on, keep playing with me. Yukonami seemed to have read my mind. He grabbed my arm and tried to stop me. I can't take any more. If I don't get away from Yukonami, he's gonna run me to death. Let go! I slapped his hand away as hard as I could. My desperation gave me strength, and Yukonami seemed surprised by how forceful I was. As soon as Yukonami's hand was free of me, I reached for the building's doorknob and slid inside. Uncle Yashima? There's nobody here, but I finally escaped into the building. I slid to the ground with my back against the door. Yukonami was still on the other side of the said door. It was still too early to relax, but I was spent. I had exceeded the limits of my energy. I paused to catch my breath and transformed back into my school uniform. When I finally got my breath, I was able to get a good look around at my shelter. I just ran in here to get away from Yukonami, but it looks like someone's house. Forgetting about Yukonami for a minute, I stared around me in wonder. Hello? Who's there? I jumped, surprised by the voice. There was a man at the back of the room. He must have been the owner of the house. I'm pretty sure this is the character. He seemed like a totally normal human, not part vector like Yukonami or Hyuga. That's right, Yukonami did mention there was another human here besides me and Lizzie. He must have been referring to this man. I was so relieved to see another human that I felt the tension drain from me. I scrambled to my feet and bowed. I'm sorry to intrude. I promise I'm not some weirdo. I'm not to say I'm exactly normal, but... anyway, my name is Spacey Takanashi. This character. This is him. Yep. He's the one that shows up. I didn't think we were going to meet him now, but he is the one that shows up in the intro credits and now he just looks like you woke him up from a nap, but he has a very sinister look to him, and then it's her computer background, and then there's the mail icon, and then you get an email, and it's just the two superimposed together, which made me go is he supposed, because he doesn't look old enough to be our Uncle Yashima now that you're seeing him in this form, but you know what I mean? I just thought it was interesting how they did that, so I'm curious about that particular choice in the intro. You know what I mean? Because, why? You know what I mean? If it means nothing, that was an odd choice, you know? With my hasty introduction complete, I lifted my head and looked at the man for the first time. For some reason, the man's eyes grew wide when he saw my face, because he knows us. Okay. Is something wrong? Is there something on my face? I can't imagine they would reveal this. Maybe he was just surprised to see another normal-looking person in a place like Tau. While I was thinking about what to do next, the man closed his eyes, cleared his throat, and gave himself a little shake. You know, I'm just trying to gauge, you seemed quite flustered just a moment ago. That's when I remembered the reason why I'd barged into the house in the first place. Yes, see, I was being chased. I spotted this house, so I ran inside to escape. Oh my, that sounds quite frightening. And the person who's chasing you, are they still outside? Yes, Yukonami's still out there, but please don't let him in. The man nodded, clearly seeing I was panicked. Oh, thank you. Another voice suddenly spoke up behind the man. Who's saying, well, if it isn't Spacey... Oh, it's Ibuki. Okay. All right. Another man, a younger one, came into view. He turned and gave me a warm smile. I wasn't sure. I'm like, is it going to be like Moravia Ibuki or like Rio? You know what I mean? Huh? I've seen this guy somewhere before. But where? You haven't. I shuffled through my memories until I recalled that I originally met him in Theta. We did? When did we meet Ibuki? In this route. I don't remember. Ibuki, right? I don't remember meeting Ibuki in this route. I remember meeting him in, Mihaya's route, outside and whatever, but I don't remember meeting him ever. Huh. Oh, well, whatever. That's right. Hello. Hello. I was surprised how calm and pleasant he was, being, despite the circumstances of our meeting. I heard you say Yukonami's outside. And did he do something to you? Well, I hesitated. I wasn't sure if I should be spilling all the details to Ibuki. And thinking about some more, why is someone from Theta here in Tau anyway? Could he be a Vector too? I didn't know Ibuki's relationship with Yukonami and the others. Would telling him the truth backfire later? Ibuki watched me hem and haw, then sighed as if he knew what I was thinking. Well, don't worry about it. It doesn't take much imagination to guess what happened. Yukonami can be a real troublesome kid. If I had to guess, he was terrorizing you. Please let me apologize on his behalf. Huh? What? I wanted to know why Ibuki was the one doing the apologizing for Yukonami. I'll give him a scolding. You can stay here for a while if you'd like. Ibuki opened the door and left before I could respond. I watched him go, completely dumbstruck. Is Ibuki gonna be all right by himself? You needn't worry about him. He'll be fine. The man spoke with confidence. They were acquaintances after all, so I figured he'd know. It's really hard because I'm running out of voices to give, to mysterious man, whatever. The man offered me a chair. I was so tired I plopped down on it without a second thought. Phew. The man brought over 2 mugs. He put one down in front of me. Some hot tea. It should relax you a bit. I'm trying to get a voice for it. He should have but he sounds a little too much like a boogie. There's too many characters and I don't have enough voices, guys, so you're gonna have to bear with me. Thank you very much. I accepted the tea gladly and took a sip. It instantly made me feel warm and calm. The mysterious man sat across from me and coughed. It's not often I get visitors here. What brings you all the way to Tau? A lot of stuff happened to me, and I wound up coming here with my friend. I wasn't sure how much I should tell him, so I tried to keep my story vague. The man seemed to notice I wasn't telling the whole story, but he didn't press me. But why do you live here? You're human, right? I am indeed human, and I've been living here for a very, very long time. I'm from Theta. You are too, right? The man nodded. May I ask your name? Interesting. I was wondering if he was going to say, my name. I discarded that when I came here. I was once a researcher. Now I'm a deserter. But it's hard going around with no name at all, so everyone just calls me Professor. Professor, then? Why did you run away? Oh, it's been so long. I forget the exact reason. But what about you? You were fleeing from Yukonami, were you not? I was trying to save lives. We gotten off topic of the man's identity, but I was just happy to talk to someone. Besides, I was hoping he'd have some good advice. I chose my words carefully before speaking again. I suppose we could give him one of our, we can't exactly give him this accent. It doesn't quite work. He's more mysterious. But, so I'm trying to put a little gravel in the voice. You know what I mean? So it's instead of being calm and simple, which is kind of the Ibuki voice. I don't want him to sound too similar, but so I'm trying to put a little gravel. I don't know if it comes across. Listen, sometimes it sounds like what I think the voice sounds like, and then I listen, I'm like, that's not at all what it sounds like to me, guys. You know? It's really hard. Yukonami gets a kick out of seeing my different facial expressions, so he planned to attack some humans to see how I'd react. Yukonami's been attacking people for a long time. I do know that much. But learning he brought me all the way out just to watch him do that, it made me really angry. Yukonami didn't understand why I was mad, so he didn't really react. He just started attacking me for the fun of it. And so you had no choice but to run. I nodded, and all of my feelings came spilling out. I'm afraid of Yukonami. He has this childlike innocence, but it's also thoughtlessly cruel. He doesn't know right from wrong. It's almost as if he was raised without learning about vital emotions or social cues. I see. Your impression of Yukonami isn't too far off the mark, actually. I lifted my head to look at the professor. He continued. You're right. As a child, he never learned those things. He came here before he had the chance. I looked at him curiously. It almost sounded like the professor knew all about Yukonami. Does that mean you know about how Yukonami grew up? You already know he's not simply a vector, right? Yeah, he is. I thought about everything I knew and what I'd seen of Yukonami so far. Wait. He's not simply a vector. Okay. He's selfish. He pitches a fit if he's not the center of attention. But he also tried to protect me from those vectors. He does have a kind side. He has his good points and his bad points. In a way, you could argue that Yukonami is very human. So, just like the other vectors, that must mean Yukonami was originally something really close to human, I think. There was so much I still didn't understand, but I couldn't put my finger on what exactly I was missing. The professor nodded sagely, seeing I was at least familiar with the true nature of the vectors. Like, what is the professor wearing glasses? Does he have glasses? Is that what's going on? Like, I have to lean forward to see because it's just the way his hair's in his face, and it's like, if there's supposed to be glasses, like, it just looks like they did a really bad job of putting bags under his eyes. You know what I mean? And also because, like, in the intro credits, it didn't look like he had glasses. He had, like, a sinister, like, smirk in his eyes. You know what I mean? In this, he just looks exhausted. But I think he's supposed to be wearing glasses. Like, I'm thinking that's what that's supposed to be. Like, just from where I'm sitting far enough away, like, you can't see, because you can't see the top, and you just see what's, like, I guess the line, the underneath of the glasses. So I'm thinking he's supposed to be wearing glasses. Like, okay. Okay. All right. You might have guessed already, but Yukonami is what we call a former human. I knew it. Not a surprise based on the things Yukonami said, which are all vectors, so I feel like this is a really weird... He's a former human. Aren't all vectors? They were once real humans, as all vectors are, but there are a select few who are different. Special, you could say. And there was one more special being aside from Yukonami. So you mean Moravia? Yes. Yukonami was born in my research lab back in Theta. Ah, interesting. I gasped, shocked. Or I gaped. Shocked, yeah, I guess. So before he came here, he was a member of Theta's research lab. So see, okay. So maybe the professor is the one. Like, listen, okay, they had a story. There was somebody who set free two people who were in love, and he let them go, and then whatever. Maybe it was the professor. I just really wanted to ascribe... Well, because we hadn't met him yet. We didn't even know there was this character. You know what I mean? So out of everyone we met, it would have made sense that it was the commander, right? But like, oh, he did that. But then again, I mean, I guess they would have to like not think he did it. But at the same time, he let Kamui and I escape and nothing really happened to him. You know what I mean? But... maybe the theory of like, oh, the researcher who let those two people go, they were our parents, and that's our Uncle Yashima. And I'm still thinking he's still Uncle Yashima because of just the way the opening credits start. And it would make sense if he was the researcher who, like, let the two people go who were in love. You know what I mean? I mean, it could be either one of them, but like, you would bet that the two people who were in love, who had powers that the whichever researcher let go were our parents. I'm still on that. It's just like, was it the commander or was it the professor? You know, but I'm starting to lean toward, I think the professor might be Uncle Yashima because of, again, that intro second segment. It's like, this man superimposed over that. There's no reason for that unless you're trying to hint, you know? Anyway. Anyway, so before he came here, he was a member of Theta's research lab. Moravia was born in the same lab, though she was born a little earlier than Yukonami. They were the result of a particular experiment, and they were born with innate superpowers. The researchers studied their development closely. Maybe that's why, if he is the person who let them go, he let them go because he was like, they're researching, because he's here now. He's obviously on the side of the vectors or the people who were being treated like this, and he's like, I don't like them being treated like experiments. You know what I mean? As shady as he looks. You know, well, I mean, he actually doesn't look shady. They make him look sinister in the intro, but of course, when you first start playing the game, you're playing the game as the good guys, so his character, if you knew about him, would be like, oh, he's evil. But, like, you know, and maybe he's gonna, like, right now he just is kind of here, and maybe we find out he's actually really sinister. Who knows, right? But if he's the researcher who let our parents go, I'm still gonna go with that's our parents, it could stand to reason he did it because he was like, I'm sick of seeing people treated like research subjects, and if you're in love and you get married and have a baby, they're going to use that baby as a science experiment, so run the fuck away. You know what I mean? And then knows full well who I am, left me there, is contacting me as Uncle Yashima, and like, whatever. Like, yeah. I mean, okay. I could buy it was him. Mm-hmm. But Moravia's powers grew stronger and stronger as the research continued. Thus, the researcher's focus was shifted from Yukonami to Moravia. So Yukonami was abandoned. The professor said nothing. He just looked away. I was one of those researchers. I have no room to judge, but they were selfish people. It was all about finding a means to an end for them. To them, Yukonami and Moravia were just specimens. When one proved better, the other was discarded, and that explains Yukonami's, look at me, look at me, look at me, why does no one look at me, and gets jealous when other people, because he was a child when all this was happening. I silently clenched my fists. I thought about how Yukonami must have felt when that happened, and my heart began to ache. Yukonami was still young, so of course he was dismayed when he stopped getting attention. He tried various things to get what he wanted. And this led to tantrums, acting out, and using his powers in very dangerous ways. Any reaction was a good reaction. So Yukonami quickly learned how to get attention when he wanted it. And then one day, he escaped the lab with Moravia. Eventually, they wound up here. But Yukonami never lost his desire for attention that began in his childhood, hence why he is the way he is. The professor closed his mouth, apparently finished. I was almost too sad to speak. With a childhood like that, it's no wonder Yukonami wound up the way he is. In other words, Yukonami was a victim too. His behavior caused me a lot of trouble, but it wasn't his fault he ended up the way he did. I know this much. Yukonami is a human. I don't get why he insists he's a vector. A human with superpowers sounds a bit like me. Perhaps, yes. I hadn't even realized I'd spoken aloud until the professor nodded in agreement. I mean, if your name is Professor, you should capitalize it when you say the professor. You will capitalize Professor! Just kidding. I was so distracted by my thoughts, I didn't even notice the look on the professor's face. My latent powers woke up so suddenly. I wonder what it's like to actually be born with powers like these. You were born with them technically, but what if I'd been made into a test subject because of my powers? Would I still be the same person I am today? No, and what if I had been that's exactly why whichever one of them, whoever it was, let your parents escape, did that, so that you wouldn't end up like Yukonami and Moravia. Then the professor spoke again. When I heard what happened to you, it made me think Yukonami wanted your attention. So basically, he just wants attention? Yes, but to be more specific, I think it's your attention he wants. He seems to like you quite a lot. Me? But why? I couldn't imagine, but thinking back on the things Yukonami had done, I started to feel like the professor was onto something. Whenever I spoke to Yukonami or asked him to talk about himself, he lit right up. He'd been downright giddy when I said I'd spend time with him. And he only planned to attack those researchers so he could get a reaction out of me. As to his reasoning, best to ask the man himself about all that, sorry. The professor grinned as if he'd already surmised the answer. If you find Yukonami frightening, and yet you try to understand... Oh, you find Yukonami frightening, and yet you try to understand how he thinks. I think Yukonami notices that, and he's decided you're a kind person who's easy to talk to. Well, that's all I have to say on the subject of Yukonami. What are your plans now? Based on what you told me, I feel like I have to find a way to help Yukonami. I can't just let him go on like this. If I leave, Yukonami will only latch onto someone else and try to get their attention instead, and he might wind up hurting them. In the end, nobody would be better off for it. I really want to talk to him. I feel sorry for him. I think I want to talk to him. Because I think I feel sorry for him is like, nobody wants you to feel, like, yes, every once in a while you're going to feel sorry for someone for a situation they're in. But like, think about it if you're a person, someone's like, I really wanted to talk to you. Or like, I feel sorry for you. You're like, there's something about I feel sorry for them that's like, can have a very negative connotation. And it's not always. It could go either way, but it's one of those like, it could go the wrong way, but like, I want to talk to them. There's usually, like, I mean, it could be for a negative reason, but generally, if you're just saying a statement like this, I want to talk to him, or I feel sorry for him. Oh, I pity him. Like, maybe he doesn't want your pity. You know what I mean? So I want to talk to him. Yeah, I really want to talk to him. Okay. I want to have a real conversation with Yukonami. I spoke my thoughts aloud. What do you plan to speak with him about? I still don't know, but I need to confront him and talk things out. I just feel like it needs to be done. I think Yukonami is just starved for proper attention. He needs someone to see him, to open up and communicate with him. I understand your thinking. In that case, I think it's a good idea for you to see him. I'm sure you'll have success connecting with him. I'll try. The professor's encouragement was a big help. I have to be more positive and forward-thinking. I have to take action. I needed to strike while the iron was hot, as the old-timers used to say. Ouch. I got to my feet. The professor smiled. If you need help, come see me anytime. Thank you. I'll give it my all. See, like this when he smiles, it's a very sus smile. Then I left the professor's house, feeling a whole lot better than I had when I'd entered it. After leaving and walking for a while, I realized something. When I let it slip that I have superpowers too, the professor didn't seem the least bit surprised. Still, given how much he seemed to know about Yukonami, maybe it wasn't surprising he knew something about me too. And maybe there was some reason he couldn't talk freely about how he knew me. Right there. That's like, maybe he can't talk. Yeah, he can't admit he's Uncle Yashima. Right now I have to worry about finding Yukonami. Now, which way did he go? Ibuki said he was going to go and talk to Yukonami, but I couldn't see either of them anywhere. I couldn't see any of them anywhere. Either of them anywhere, Jesus. Thinking about it, Ibuki said he'd handle it, but would he be so confident if Yukonami got seriously violent? Maybe Ibuki's really strong himself. Hard to say. I don't know who he is, really. I began searching for Yukonami. I wasn't sure which direction he was likely to have gone, so I just checked random places. As I walked around searching, I spotted a familiar figure up ahead. It's Yukonami! Found him! He was standing in the middle of a deserted road, all alone. After hearing what the professor said, Yukonami now looked unbearably sad and forlorn to me. Call his name, go closer. Maybe we call his name. Yep, call his name. Yukonami! When I called his name, Yukonami jumped and turned to look at me. Yukonami gazed at me for a moment, frowning, and then he suddenly lit up with a big smile. Spacey, hey, what's up? His smile reflected his happiness at hearing me call his name. He was seemingly just glad to get my attention. He's very much like an animal. So this is very, like, you know what I mean? So, like, childlike too, but, like, also like an animal, a child, whatever. It's like, think about it when your dog's being bad and you're like, no, bad dog, whatever. And they're like, oh, and then 2 seconds later, you're like, hey, and they're like, oh my god, hi! It's like they kind of forget, you know? Like my bird, when he's being an asshole, I'm like, no, you're being a bad bird, and he gets yelled at and get told he's a bad bird. 2 seconds later, he's like, all up like, hi, and you're like, hello. Like, he just forgets. He's just like, he still adores you, even though you just called him a bad bird. You know what I mean? Like, how many times I yell at him when he's sitting right here? I am using my remote, my controller in my left hand, because I made the mistake of sitting with my hand up for a hot second. And so now my wrist and my arm is like propped up against my boob, and the bird is like wedged in between like my chest and my wrist. And I can't move. He is like nested right there. He is just like, boop, this is where I'm sleeping now. He is just, he's got his eyes open and he's moving, but he's just like, nope, this is where I'm snuggling. So I can't move my right hand. I can move my fingers. But if I put my remote in my hand for a hot second just to use my left hand, and he was like, the fuck are you doing? Get that thing away. So I'm doing everything left-handed, and it's like, oh, I have to switch because now I have an itch on my face. Oh my god. But you know.
Hey, I was talking about you because they said sometimes they call you bad boy, because sometimes you're a bad bird. You do get yelled at, but then you don't know any better. 2 seconds later, we're like, hey, hello. And you're like, oh, good. Oh, hello. Oh, you still talk to me. Of course I still talk to you. Even when you're a bad boy, I love you deaths. I do. I love you to death because you're the cutest. Even when you're a big fat asshole. Look at you. You're so sweet. Anyway.
Do you finally want to play? Yeah, I guess so. Having said that, I don't want a repeat of what I went through earlier. How can I get that through to him? As I tried to piece together what I wanted to say, Yukonami's expression suddenly turned sad. Oh, wait a sec. What's up? It's just, Ibuki got really mad at me. I'm not allowed to play with you anymore. So apparently Yukonami obeys Ibuki as well as he does Moravia. You'd think she'd clue in because it's not like everyone else, like, oh, you've got brown hair and brown eyes. He has heterochromia and pink hair. You would think the heterochromia and pink hair would give him away as Moravia. I mean, I guess in this instance, she does not know that any of the boys turn into magical girls. But it should not be surprising when she learns that in the Bloom's routes, right, that any boy turns into a magical girl, to be like, oh, Ibuki is probably Moravia. Like, she should be able to put that together, is all I'm saying. In this case, I get why, but... Ibuki said you're not allowed to play with me? He didn't say it like that, but we can't play the games we put... Games were played before? Okay. But we can't play the games we played before. Thing is, I don't know what's allowed and what's not. Apparently Ibuki had really let him have it. Yukonami looked so forlorn. It was honestly kind of cute. He also seemed to have calmed down a lot. It's probably a good time to try and talk to him. Then let's play in a way that won't make Ibuki mad. If it's something I come up with myself, I think Ibuki should be fine with it. Yukonami looked at me, his lower lip trembling a little. Really? What kind of game are you thinking? For example... I looked around and spotted exactly what I needed next to Yukonami's feet. There are little flowers growing here. Huh. So even in a place like this, flowers still bloom. I smiled and bent down, gesturing to the flowers. Yukonami, look how pretty these flowers are. Flowers? Yukonami looked down at his feet, surprised, as if he had never noticed the flowers before. Oh yeah, they're cute. Do you know if flowers like this bloom in other areas of Tao? I've never really paid much attention, but I think they're in other places too. Then let's try finding them. It'll be like a treasure hunt. The search for the pretty flowers of Tao. That's playing? Yep. Playing doesn't simply mean going berserk and knocking stuff down. What do you think? Do you want to play with me? I looked at Yukonami affectionately as I waited for his answer. It's also kind of weird, like now, like, okay, yes, Yukonami acts like a child and then it's like, but knowing that he never got past that, and it's like, then you're going to romance him and he's got the mentality of a child. Granted, it's a little weird you're going to romance him and he's got the mentality of, like, a dog. So either way, it's a little fucked up, but it's somehow more fucked up that he's mentally a child than it is, well, he's mentally a golden retriever because, you know, we've dated our golden retriever boyfriends before and, like, whatever, but, like, he's mentally stuck in child, so... I don't know, I feel like it's a little problematic now when you point that out. Okay. Like, alright, whatever. Yukonami reached out for a flower, mumbling, I'm still not sure how that's a game. But it sounds more fun than being alone. Let's do it. Alright, let's go. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could also just look at it as like, he's not mentally a child, he's just an idiot. You know what I mean? Because he just does anything for attention, and outbursts probably got him more attention than being good or doing calm things, so. And with all the experiments they did on him, it's not surprising he's a little fucked up. We both smiled and dashed off. We combed Tao side by side. Flowers! Flowers! Come out and play! Yukonami skipped along. Just the act of moving around seemed fun to him, and his enthusiasm was infectious. Look! More flowers here, too! Wow! Well, you might have spotted that tricky one around the corner, but I won't let you beat me. I thought we were going to make flower crowns for a hot second, I'm not going to lie. Yukonami was determined to make our flower hunt a competition, which was kind of funny. It's not a contest, you know. I know that. Look, I found one. That flower looks weird. It's not a flower. It's a bug that looks like one. Eek! I was way too close to the bug when it moved. I practically leapt out of my skin in shock. Yukonami looked at me, thoroughly amused. You jumped so high. I mean, I thought it was a flower. Look over there. It's a flower for real this time. Honest. I looked where Yukonami was pointing. I saw a clump of flowers growing from a crack. Wow, these are especially pretty. I guess flowers come in all shapes and sizes, huh? I always thought they were all just the same. Discovering new stuff makes the same old places seem brand new. I thought this would be a boring game, but it's actually kind of fun. I'm glad you think so. I'm having fun too. I brought my face close to the flowers and breathed in its delicate scent. Yukonami, this flower smells really good. What? Let me smell. Then Yukonami brought his face to the flower to have a sniff for himself. It really does. It's nice, but not very strong. That makes it easy to look over. I wouldn't have ever spotted it if you didn't say something. Thanks, Spacey. Did they mean look over or overlook? Because he said look over, but I think they meant overlook. While I was distracted by the flower, Yukonami's face moved so close to mine I could almost touch his cheek. His face is right next to mine. I'd never been this close to a boy before. Shaken, I quickly moved away. His eyelashes, they're so long. I've never had a chance to notice before now, but Yukonami is a good-looking guy. They always have long, gorgeous eyelashes, boys do. It's really unfair. I'm just saying, we all know. I mean, we've talked about this, I'm pretty sure, before, but we all know in the animal kingdom, generally the male animals are the ones peacocking and looking all beautiful. Look, peacocks, literally, look at peacocks. Those are men. Those are the male peacocks. The female peacocks are bland and boring and brown. Just saying, I don't understand why women are the ones that have to do our hair and put on high heels and all this makeup. I think men should be doing that. I'm going to need you to put on a tight skirt, show that ass, put on some heels and some eyeliner. Get those eyelashes looking gorgeous. Put all that mascara on. Yes. I've never not been like this, though, so, you know. If that all of a sudden we switched and was like, men have to get all, like, fabulous. Oh, hell yeah! I've always been like that. I've always been a proponent that men should have to look pretty for us. Why do we have to look pretty for them and they get to look like fucking drunken slobs half the time? That's why men in eyeliner and getting all jazzed up. Hot. Just so I want to be the one that looks like a potato. Like, I think that's fair. I couldn't let go of the thought easily, but I changed the subject to hide my blush.
What you doing? Not you. You's a pretty boy. You are a pretty boy.
You could be a girl bird for all I know, because birds like you are just pretty regardless.
Doesn't really matter. There's no difference in the male or female of your species. You're just cute and adorable.
Of course, the way you snug sometimes probably makes me feel like you're a hen, but...
We can still call you Miss or Neelix. We can't call you Mrs. Neelix.
If I took you to get DNA tested and you were a female, it'd be really kind of fucked up. Be like, well, you're still Mr. Neelix, the female bird.
I know. We don't know. We're not going to find out. We don't want to know.
You don't care. Anyway. The flowers we saw before were a different species. I bet we'll find more if we look. Flower species, eh? How many do you think there are? Yukonami jumped right on the new topic without noticing anything was amiss. I'm not really an expert. I have no idea. But I bet we can find quite a few different species in Tau. We could look for them, like taking a survey. Yukonami seemed excited by this prospect. His voice grew louder. That sounds like fun. Let's do it. Okay, I hope we find a lot. This is my first time doing a survey. I'm super excited. I couldn't stop myself from smiling in response to Yukonami's youthful exuberance. I found his innocence frightening at first, but I think I'm okay now. Finding out about his past helped a lot. We found many types of flowers blooming in Tau as we walked along, scanning the ground. Yukonami and I fell into an easy conversation as we hunted for flowers. I was no longer worrying about making him angry or getting anxious about what he might do to me. We were just hanging out like normal people. That's when I realized Yukonami was staring at me. So that's one more face you make. What kind of face is that? Out of all your faces, I like this one the best. But what sort of face am I making? Geez, I hope it's nothing too weird. Until now, Yukonami had expressed delight over my terror and anger. No good emotions, in other words. But I stopped worrying as soon as I saw his bright smile. I feel like he's changing little by little. I hope I can keep steering him in a better direction. We looked around for flowers a little more and found several species. They're blooming all over the place, huh? Yeah, but the first flower we saw was the cutest. It warmed my heart to hear Yukonami express fondness for a flower. Then let's go back to where we started. Which way was it again? All of Tau's ruined buildings looked the same as each other. I hadn't really gotten my bearings yet. Come on, this way. I followed along behind Yukonami. There! There's the same flower! We returned to the first flower we saw, and Yukonami dashed over to it excitedly. Yep, just as I thought. This flower's definitely the cutest out of all the ones we've seen. Yukonami beamed at the flower. He beckoned me over and pointed at it. Hey, sit there! Right here? Okay. I wasn't sure what Yukonami was planning, but I sat near the flowers like I'd been told. Yukonami inspected the blooms, then carefully picked one. Just sit still for a sec. Is he going to put it in our hair? What's he going to do? Yukonami held the flower out to me. I stiffened up again, just a little bit. He's presenting me with the flower. That's kind of adorable. Oh, we get a CG. He's putting it in our hair! And we get a CG of it! Aww. Like, how cute. How's that? Yukonami tucked the flower into my hair. I'd honestly not been expecting that. My eyes widened in surprise, and Yukonami smiled warmly. There. I thought it would suit you. He picked a flower with me in mind? His kindness made me smile, and I found myself murmuring, Thank you. Yukonami grinned like a happy child. I like that face. I think it's the same as... No. It's even better than the last one. Your smiling face. That's the best one for sure. Yukonami's hand moved from the flower to stroke my hair. His touch wasn't aggressive, nor did he manhandle me like a well-used toy. It's gentle, as if he's touching something precious. I was both happy and embarrassed. My face felt like it was on fire. See, like this type of character progression, from being a little overly eager and aggressive and like wanting to see your scared faces because he doesn't know any better, to like learning how to be gentle and whatever, like would definitely take more than 5 minutes. This is like literally he was chasing me earlier. We sat and talked to the professor for about 20 minutes, maybe half hour, and now Yukonami's all gentle and okay. It would take way fucking longer than this. But because the game is kind of condensed and short, you kind of have to suspend your disbelief and be like, wow, he changed so it's like, well, it would have been over like weeks or months in like normal game time, you know what I mean? You would have seen a little bit of a change, then it would have been like a week later, several weeks later. This is literally 5 minutes. So yeah, I mean, I could get that being like, character progression's a little like instantaneous, but what else are you gonna do? You know what I mean? So I'm not mad about it. It is what it is. I've never been touched like this before. I feel all mixed up inside. I wasn't sure how to handle the emotions that were growing inside me. I decided to put them aside for the moment. Maybe I'll be able to express how I feel to Yukonami now. Thank you, Yukonami, for the flower and for stroking my hair. Those things make me very happy. But in the future, perhaps we shouldn't pick flowers. Why not? Flowers are living things. They work very hard to grow their pretty petals. It's sad if someone comes around and picks them, right? Flowers are alive? Yukonami looked astonished at my suggestion that flowers are living things. I continued to explain. Right, living things like you and me. And then you have to explain this again like you're explaining it to a child, and that's a little fucking weird. You said you like my smiling face, right? If so, please make other living things smile too. When you meet someone or something you like, try showing them kindness so they'll like you. I touched Yukonami's hand lightly, hoping he'd get it. Like the kindness you showed me just now. Show kindness. Yukonami repeated those words quietly, as if he was trying to digest their meaning. I watched him in silence. After thinking for a few moments, Yukonami looked me in the eyes. What should I do with the flower? He seemed a little guilty. Apparently he understood what I was saying after all. I smiled as I touched the flower. I'll put this flower in my room as a decoration. It'll brighten my room so it won't go to waste. I think it'll like doing that. Decoration? It was as if he had no concept of using flowers to decorate. He clearly couldn't visualize it. Putting flowers on display helps perk up a room. Once we get back, I'll show you. Really? Let's hurry back then. Yukonami took my hand. He tugged at me gently this time, not like earlier when he dragged me like a dog on a leash. I squeezed his hand back. Who the hell drags their dog like that? Jesus, it's a little violent. I'm starting to lose all feeling in my arm bird. For the next few days, we scouted around town looking for different flowers. While out on another flower walk, I thought about how peaceful the last few days had been. I could never have imagined being so at ease before. And Lizzie's condition has really improved too. She still gets tired easily, but she's able to walk around her room now. And I'm not really scared of Yukonami anymore. I need to have a talk with Lizzie. I don't think we still need to rush our escape. You know, I've been thinking. I looked up at Yukonami. What are flowers exactly? I was at a loss to explain that at first. They're plants. What are plants? Plants. What suddenly makes you keen on botany? I don't know what botany is. I just want to know why flowers bloom. Science? They bloom out of nowhere, then they just go away. Why bloom at all if they're just gonna disappear? Well, that's what people do. We magically appear. Well, not really. And then we grow up and then we die. I think this is the first time I've heard Yukonami voice this kind of thought. He was starting to show curiosity about the world around him. That was a big step. That said, I still wasn't sure how to respond. I wanted to encourage his growth. Well, flowers bloom in order to make seeds. Once their job is done, they will. Why do they make seeds, though? To make offspring. New flowers. Yukonami seemed to find my explanation somewhat sad. Oh, flowers can feel lonely too, huh? That's right. They need lots of friends. Too. It's like Yukonami's comparing the flower's feelings to his own. If Yukonami hadn't been raised in a lab, he probably would have grown up to be a kind and considerate person. I hope he continues to change bit by bit. He's already improved so much. Taking leisurely walks with him was a lot of fun. Doing so made old places seem new. Oh, look! There's some buds here. They weren't here last time we walked by. Oh yeah, we'll see some flowers there soon. I wonder what kind of flowers they'll be. I can't wait to see. Look, pillbugs. When you poke them, they roll into an itty-bitty ball. But pillbugs? Uh-huh. I nodded with a tight smile on my face. I started to feel a little lightheaded. I'm really not a fan of bugs, though I guess most people could say the same thing. Pillbugs aren't too bad. Not that I'm itching to go around touching them. I tried to hide how creeped out I was, but I guess the emotions spread on my face anyway. I started to inch away. Uh-oh. Yukonami watched me, curious. Are you scared of bugs? Huh? How could you tell? You're kind of like shrinking away. It's pretty obvious. Remember when I found that flower that turned out to actually be a bug? You were pretty shocked by that. Yikes, he's more perceptive than I gave him credit for. Or maybe I'm completely lacking in anything resembling a poker face. Why are you scared of bugs? You're strong. Not as strong as me, of course, but stronger than any old bug. It's not an issue of how powerful I am, it's more that I'm grossed out. Anyway, I'm not really scared, I just don't like them much. So you hate bugs. What? Yikes, the way this conversation is going, I have to wonder if he's going to scare me with a bug just to see how I'll react. Right? Exactly. Or is he going to declare himself my anti-bug knight and go around killing every last insect in Tau? I don't want either thing to happen. Ikonami grinned at me as I stood, deep in thought. Well then, if any bugs come along, I'll make sure to protect you. Huh? My eyes widened in surprise. That wasn't quite what I was expecting him to say. I realized Ikonami had really grown. I was stunned momentarily, but then I began to fill with happiness. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll start by squishing this pill Ikonami made as if to crush the insect. I quickly moved in to stop him. No, you don't need to do that. It's true I don't like bugs very much, but it's cruel to just go around crushing them. Also, they're outside in their own environment. It's cruel? Yeah, bugs are just trying to live too. Trying to live, huh? Okay, I get it. I breathed a sigh of relief as Ikonami withdrew. The pillbug meandered down a stem and disappeared, oblivious to the fact that it had narrowly missed its own demise. Thinking deeper about it, it's really amazing that bugs are able to live here, and flowers are capable of blooming too. This colony, long abandoned by its human residents, could still support life. The realization was deeply moving. I could stand to live here. Thought popped into my mind, uninvited. Until now, I'd been resentful of the thought that I'd have no choice but to live in Tau, but now I was starting to warm up to the idea. Hey, what's up? Why do you look all smiley? No particular reason. As we casually strolled along, we happened upon the place where we first saw flowers. We finished here every day. I see the flower! It's blooming nicely today, isn't it? You really like this flower, huh, Ikonami? Like it? Yeah, I guess I do. Its shape and color are kinda nice. But that's not all. It's the first flower I found with you. That makes it extra special. Then, I guess it's special to me too. Ikonami grinned at me, totally unflustered. That just made me blush even more. Hey, look at this! This flower's kinda weird and droopy. Ikonami looked at me with concern over the change in one of the flowers. What's up with it? Doesn't seem very happy. Don't worry, the flower's done its job blooming, so now it's making seeds. Seeds? It's gonna turn into seeds? Ikonami peered at the drooping flower with shock on his face. I see. Seems kinda sad that it has to go limp like this, but I'm glad about the seeds. New seeds mean new friends will grow, right? Then the flower won't be lonely anymore. I nodded. Right. Once it makes seeds, let's plant them in a flower bed outside our building. What's a flower bed? It's kind of hard to explain. You kind of mark off an area with sticks and rocks and grow flowers within that boundary, I guess? Wow. We can do that? All we need is dirt and water. We don't have any fertilizers, but flowers this hardy don't need any, I don't think. Ikonami's eyes sparkled with motivation. I want to do it. Let's make a flower bed. All right, it's a deal. I smiled and held out my little finger. Ikonami just stared at me. You don't know how to make a pinky swear? What? No, swearing's bad. Why the fuck would you say that to me? I'm just kidding. No. Clearly, he misunderstood me. I shook my head. No, not that kind of swearing. It's like making a promise. You link your pinkies together like so. I took his hand and linked his finger with mine. Ikonami sat quietly and let me do it. He seemed to trust me. The realization made me feel warm inside. So this is to show we made a promise? Ikonami's fingers are much longer than mine. They're kind of knobby, too. The contrast was surprising. It certainly seemed like a man's hand. I couldn't help but fixate on that fact a little. Why am I getting nervous? Pinky swore it was my idea, after all. Then it's a promise. After we unlinked our fingers, I felt embarrassed. I couldn't make eye contact with Yukonami. Oh, there's a Vector over there. While Yukonami and I were chatting, one of the Vectors had settled down to watch us from a short distance. But by now I was used to Vectors watching me as I went about my business in Tau. I was worried at first, but now I don't mind them at all, even when they come close. It's funny the things you can get used to. Incidentally, I've been thinking about the time I thought Yukonami was protecting me from the Vector, but now I had a different perspective. Yukonami just didn't want me to look at the Vector. He was trying to block my view so my attention would stay on him. He even admitted as much. Such a Yukonami thing to do, I could only laugh. Just thinking about it now made me grin again. The Vector soon lost interest in me and passed by fairly close to where we stood. It lumbered through the flowers, crushing several underfoot. It was clearly an accident. The flowers! Yukonami was enraged. I started to panic. Yukonami, just calm down! But my words didn't reach him. Yukonami faced the Vector, overflowing with murderous intent. I'll kill that Vector! Yikes! That Vector's in serious danger. It's kind of like an animal at this point. Like, it's in an animal state, so it's gonna just tromp along, not worrying about stepping on flowers. Don't hurt it. The flowers will bloom again. Don't hurt it. Don't hurt it! The flowers will bloom again. Both of those in that succession. Yeah. No, don't hurt it! I was desperate to stop Yukonami any way I could, and my voice came out as a stern shout. But you said we shouldn't pluck the flowers. Well, look what that Vector did to them. The Vector doesn't know any better. The Vector didn't do it on purpose. I needed to stop him, but Yukonami wasn't listening to me. Who cares about whether it was on purpose or not? The flower was about to make seeds, but that Vector just ruined it. You and I made that special promise to build a flower bed, but now the seeds are ruined. This wasn't going well. He's gonna kill that Vector, and nothing I say will stop him. I've gotta use force. How dare I kill the flowers? Yukonami, stop it! I transform and stop Yukonami's attack by standing in between him and the Vector. Move! I put my back to Yukonami, faced the Vector, and yelled, Hurry! Run away! I don't know if it understood me or if it just picked up on Yukonami's hostility. Either way, it wasted no time lumbering away from us. Get back here! I won't let you follow it.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. Oh, you guys still got pin feather stuff on your tail feathers. Oh, poor birdie. I was going to try to get it, but you're like, don't touch my tail.
I stood my ground, and
Yukonami glared at me. You should be able to get that, because you can reach your tail.
Why are you getting in my way? You can't hurt that Vector. It's not right. It's true that the Vector crushed the flowers, but that wasn't its fault. It was an accident. Calm down, Yukonami. Let's forgive the Vector this time, okay? But Yukonami wouldn't calm down. He shook his head, not wanting to hear it. No! I won't forgive it! Those were our precious flowers and it destroyed them! If you want to try to stop me, go ahead. But you won't succeed, I can tell you that. A familiar dread flooded me as I saw the look in Yukonami's eyes. He really means to do it. I unleashed a shot of my psychokinesis right at Yukonami's feet. I was hoping it'd stop him, but he simply dodged. His rage fueled his determination. I couldn't win. This is when you tell him, I will never speak to you again. Our friendship will be over. Still, I was hesitant to attack Yukonami directly. I didn't want to hurt him. In that case, I stood my ground and aimed several more shots at Yukonami's feet, but he dodged each one. You think some dumb tricks will stop me? Hey, you don't want to attack me, do you? It's pretty obvious you don't. Ugh. He kept dodging all of my shots. But that's fine. You know, I could take down all the blooms at once if I really wanted. You got no chance by yourself. Forget about it. Yukonami skillfully dodged another shot that landed by his feet. I used that moment to fling some rubble at his head with my psychokinesis. Now! What? Using my power, I crushed the rubble into powder and sent dust raining on Yukonami's head. Yes, perfect! I felt a little sorry for Yukonami, but he was right about one thing. I couldn't stop him in a fair fight. The Vector needed enough time to run away. A distraction? I have to admit I never expected something like that from you. Doesn't matter, though. Even if there's dust in my eyes, I still got a good sense of smell. I'll track down that Vector with my nose alone. Ah! Yukonami dashed forward without hesitation. I tried to grab him, but he yanked free of my grasp, threatened him. Wait, Yukonami, please wait! I dashed after him, completely panicked. It's no good. I can't catch up to him. I quickly spotted Yukonami ahead. The Vector was right in front of him. Tell him you'll never forgive him. No! I reached out, hoping to stop him somehow. But Yukonami's attack hit the Vector dead on. A moment later, its wrecked body tumbled to the ground. No, I couldn't make it. I stumbled to a halt, horrified. Yukonami had doled out a death sentence to that poor Vector for simply crushing a flower. I thought Yukonami was learning there was more to life than mindless violence, but he just killed a Vector in cold blood. He's beyond saving. His objective fulfilled, Yukonami came ambling back toward me. Spacey, why do you look so sad? An overwhelming sense of emptiness opened up inside me like a gaping maw. I lowered my head and muttered to Yukonami. You solved the issue with violence, that's why. Why do you have to do a thing like that? Why? Why? Because that's what always happened to me. It did something bad and it got punished for it. Isn't that normal? Punished? That's what happened to him? Even you punched me that one time. So Yukonami suffered more than just neglect when he lived back in the lab? The very possibility made my heart ache. I didn't punch you because I hate you or because I wanted to hurt you or anything like that. But you never knew the difference. I'm so sorry. I remembered then that Yukonami was like a child and there was still a lot he had to learn. I'd grown up surrounded by people who helped guide me along the right path. Filling that gap for Yukonami wasn't going to be easy. I resolved to repeat my lessons again and again until they sank into Yukonami's head. If you want to be loved, Yukonami, you need to show some love first. Get it? Nothing good ever comes from violence. I don't want the Vectors to love me, though. Even so, if you go around hurting people, even people you don't care about, the people who you want to love you will turn away. People I want to love me? Yukonami seemed confused, as if I just explained a completely alien concept. He gazed at me with big eyes, as if he was seeking my assistance. Well, that stuff doesn't really make sense to me. Nobody ever told me about any of it. So why now? Why? Yukonami, it's not too late. There's no need to take everything in at once. He stopped himself mid-sentence. Then he shook his head as if he was in pain. It's impossible! Don't just dismiss it all so quickly. But I mean, it's the opposite of everything I know. How am I supposed to understand any of this? Yukonami dashed off. Yukonami! I ran after Yukonami, but I couldn't catch up to him. Before I knew it, he was out of sight. Yukonami, what should I have done? I stared in the direction he disappeared as I struggled to catch my breath. Oh. We're a little under time, but I will wrap it up here, so I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.